There's a reason why you only see absurd damage and Geo and Nemo characters are only popular for whales. Because Geo and Nemo characters, the only way to increase their damage is through reducing enemy resistance, right? Something like this. Something like this, right? They're only really popular because whales can make use of massive artifacts and weapon advantage to make them do absurd damage, right? Like how Zhao can out-damage a certain Melt Ganyu at C6, but that's like a very extreme example. And then physical damage is for some reason popular, right? Amongst free-to-play players. The reason why a Nemo and Geo character does so much damage is because they have very high damage ratio by default. All of them have extremely high damage ratio. And the access to elemental reduction and resistance reduction makes them extremely strong, right? Physical damage has the same way of increasing damage that Geo and Nemo does. The only way to increase physical damage is through superconduct, which is reducing enemy physical resistance, right? But physical damage has low damage ratio. So I have no idea why the hell physical damage is so popular amongst free-to-play when legit it's a whale it's a whale territory on damage increase. I'm pretty sure maybe someone free-to-play out there does 10k damage on their auto and think that's massive numbers or something, right? So I guess they're gonna try to fix physical damage by giving Eula fat damage ratio, right? Just give her so fat damage ratio, but even then, currently even amongst the very high-end physical damage superconduct comp, a physical damage comp got out-damaged by an overload comp. Do you know how disgustingly weak that is? An overload comp out-damaged a superconduct comp because the 4000 damage proc from overload is more than however many damage you can get increased by reducing resistance of physical. So, I don't know. Why the hell is physical damage popular? Is it just because left-clicking is fun?
I hope today too shall be prosperous.
Yandere tipped $1. It's because of Prototype Archaic and Razor. Probably why it's popular with free-to-play players.
I guess, yeah. Prototype Archaic, Razor, Crescent Pike and stuff. Those are probably the things that made physical damage popular. To reach the max potential of physical damage, it is so much more expensive than just running an elemental comp. Like, physical damage is like whale territory of increasing damage. That's like running a pure pyro comp and relying on Zhongli C6 to do more damage without reaction. Because Zhongli C6 is reduced resistance, right? Where's she? Yeah. That's literally it. That's like running a pyro comp, a pure pyro comp, relying on Zhongli. Is the only reason why it's popular for early game was because you don't need to gear multiple characters. I think that would make the most sense. Probably that would make the most sense. I guess physical damage is easy to get into, but extremely hard to get the max potential off unless you're a fat whale, right? Because the scaling of physical damage, and if you want to get the max potential, it is so artifact reliant. But early game, you have access to it without really. So it's easy to get into, but hard to max. Whereas elemental damage teams are a bit harder to get into, but has higher damage ceiling, right? It's how I am able to make my Xinyan look disgustingly OP, right? That's just because artifacts. She's so physical damage, right? It's so artifact reliant. I used to only play elemental team, but when I started playing physical teams and like more singular DPS comps, it makes me understand, right? The DPS ceiling of this team is a lot lower than elemental teams. The only saving grace is that I can sleep and play it at the same time. Because it's legit just... Alright. Let's try to explain elemental reaction, okay? Well, this is mainly explaining melt and vaporize, but the other reactions will make sense as well. So, when you put an element on the enemy, we call it aura. So they have a cryo aura on their head, right? This aura will naturally decay over time, but if you do an elemental reaction, you will reduce the timer on that aura by a flat amount, right? For melt and vaporize, if you do pyro into hydro, or cryo and then pyro, That's a 2.0 reaction. Those 2.0 reaction will just mean... Did Diona miss a shot? Okay, those 2.0 reaction will just mean that you do double damage, but you also deplete the charge super quick, right? If you do the reverse of that, which is you do Hydro into Cryo or Pyro into Cryo, you do half the damage, not half the damage, but 1.5, right? Times 1.5 damage. But the added advantage is that you can do twice as much reaction because you reduce the elemental aura gauge at half the value. So that's why reverse vaporize and reverse melt are super powerful for DPS, whereas actual melt and vaporize is better if you're a YouTuber. If you want to do like 1 million damage, post a video and yeah, that's what a YouTuber DPS is. That's why Xingqiu is so OP, because Xingqiu is the literal god of reverse vaporize. Elemental Mastery is useless on Yanfei, similar to why Elemental Mastery is useless on Tartaglia and Klee. They apply too much of their elemental aura. They're not the one proccing the elemental reaction. Their allies are. These support characters are. There you go. What's a reverse reaction? Oh god, I'll just pull up the site. So the 2.0 is an actual reaction. The 1.5 is half the reaction, right? It's the reverse reaction. The reason why reverse reactions are better is because it only takes half the elemental gauge, so you can do twice the amount of reaction compared to doing a pure reaction in terms of DPS. But yeah, basically reverse reaction of melt and vaporize are better for DPS, and otherwise you roll for pure melt and vaporize if you're a YouTuber and want to hit like 2 million damage. He explained internal cooldowns too. Each character in the game and their abilities have different internal cooldown. I think the KeqingMains thesis have a list of all the internal cooldown and the unit of it. So yeah, we're 5 minutes overtime. All right, Glass, you can be dismissed. No more math talk. Let's go back to playing video game. Let's go back to playing video games.